Petworking is presented by Maya Strategy Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petworking. I'm Peter Kenseth, and excited to be joined today by Daisy Chavez to talk about pet insurance. Pet insurance is a topic near and dear to my heart. In full transparency, it's one of the big reasons I started this podcast. I can't tell you the number of times I have been at work or in a social setting, and someone comes up to me and is talking about how they have a $4,000 vet bill, and I ask the question, well, do you have pet insurance? And I'm often met with a blank stare, unawareness that pet insurance exists, or skepticism about pet insurance's effectiveness. And Daisy has a really interesting background. She was a licensed vet tech prior to her current role at Pet Insurance Review, which I'll let her tell you a little bit more about. But she's seen the effects of people not having pet insurance from the medical side of the equation, and that's a big driver as to why she is where she is today. So we're going to talk a little bit about what pet insurance is, how you can get it, what it will cover for you. Likely, again, we're not licensed insurance agents here, but what it won't, and how having pet insurance can make for a better experience in the veterinary care system for you, your pet, and your veterinarian. So, with that being said, Daisy, thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to Petworking.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, it's lovely to be here. And as you mentioned before, I bring a very unique perspective to the pet insurance landscape. And so my background, as you said, I am a licensed veterinary technician. However, I've been mostly in hospital leadership. I've been a hospital director and practice manager for about 15 years now. It wasn't until last year that after the pandemic hit, right, and most of our hospitals were bombarded with people wanting to come in, and adoptions were increased and things like that. And I started feeling the burnout at the end of last year, and I started seeing my teams just continuously in this vicious cycle of just very, very overworked and just very stressed out about the financial aspect, about the treatment that our clients and pets were getting. I started pondering at the beginning of the year, that something had to change. I was starting to feel very heavy-hearted, seeing my team struggle, being accused of only being after money, and things like that. And it wasn't until I met Ray, who the founder of Pet Insurance Review, and we started having a conversation about pet insurance. And I was really surprised at my own knowledge about pet insurance, because I had been in the industry for so long, and I couldn't understand why, as a hospital director and someone who was entrusted to lead these veterinary teams, why I never had more understanding as to what the pet insurance industry offered and what it could provide. And so I was very much impressed with Ray's passion to really expand the knowledge of veterinary teams to know what resources are out there when clients ask them about pet insurance. I think as in veterinary medicine, we focus on the medicine part of it, and we don't really think about the financial aspect of it. But I started thinking that we are not setting up our clients up for success if we don't even introduce at least the aspect of pet insurance and allowing them to do their own research and being informed about it. Pet Insurance Review is a marketplace that reviews all insurances, and so I was very much interested in not being sponsored by any type of insurance and only allowing just educational resources for our teams. It's kind of like a win-win for everyone, right? Pet insurance will kind of give you that cushion if an accidental thing happens to your pet, if they get sick, if they get into the trash. I think the average cost right now for something like that is upwards of $1,500. That's the minimum of just X-rays, an exam and things like that. And so not a lot of people have that just to be able to provide that for their pet. And pets now are like family. we have to be able to inform our pet parents their options, even if we are not for pet insurance or wellness plans, at least just giving them the information. So this mission-based partnership formed between myself and just seeing that need that very, very much needed to happen in our industry.
Yeah, no, I think you raise a lot of great points there, Daisy. And I mean, it's a lot to unpack, but I think, maybe breaking it down step by step, first, you mentioned, you had been in the industry for 15 years and didn't have a huge awareness of pet insurance. And, I think it's shocking for a lot of people to learn that the market penetration for pet insurance sits at around 2.5%, 3%. Upward estimates I've heard maybe 4% of dogs have insurance. But when you talk about pets being family, we would never let our kids be uninsured. We would never put our kids in a position. And I don't want to say that, dogs are kids. I know that that's a dangerous topic to get into, but I think a lot of us do regard dogs as a member of the family and our fur babies. And, they're far beyond, an animal. They are a companion. They bring people joy. They interact with us. And yet, so many of us are putting ourselves and our pets in a position where decisions about their health are made on the basis of a family's finances. We have health insurance to guard against that. You would never want to deprive your spouse or your kid or your parent of medical treatment that they needed because cost was an issue. And that's why we all have health insurance. And that's why it's so important. Similarly, if we're going to treat pets as a member of the family, that has to be the paradigm shift. And the other half of it that you raised is not only does it put that burden on the family to make the decision of, is my pet's health, well-being, or even life worth the cost of this proposed cost of the veterinary treatment? But then you're putting veterinarians in a position where they can't deliver the treatment that they know is medically necessary to help a pet. And I think that's what contributes so much to the compassion fatigue and burnout, and this idea that you're just grabbing money. Well, vets need to be paid for their time and their services and their materials. And if we're putting them in a situation where that's solely being financed by the owners of the pets that are getting brought into the clinic, there is going to be this disconnect where you do see, and maybe you can speak to this, numerous instances of financial euthanasia, or where pet owners opt to put their pet down because they can't afford the treatment that would save it. How often did you see that when you were a vet tech, when you were a practice manager in your 15 years working in the industry? How often was that the case for you?
Absolutely. I mean, as a practice manager in general practice, daily we were having to adjust our recommendations to be able to fit those financial constraints. So not only do we face the financial euthanasia, but we also face the top care, right? We have to kind of adjust what we recommend. As a hospital director in an ER setting, I saw daily financial euthanasias happening, and your teams kind of are gracious to learn how to move through those instances and be gracious to their clients and try and be supportive. But it does not mean that it does not weigh heavily on everyone, including hospital leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it certainly does. And when you think about what's out there, pet insurance really isn't that expensive. It's, we're talking, I think the average for a dog is somewhere around 50. Average monthly cost is $44 for a dog and $30 for a cat, with a policy of a $5,000 annual coverage, a $250 deductible, and 80% reimbursement. That would go up to $56 and $47 for unlimited coverage, a $500 deductible, and a 90% reimbursement level. And I can say from personal experience, my first project consulting in the pet care and animal health space was in pet insurance back in 2009. So pet insurance, that was sort of the infancy of the industry, but that was 15 years ago. And we have 15 years and we're still 2.5 to 4% penetration adoption. And we're not, awareness may be up, but people are not executing and adopting, right? So when we adopted our dog 6.5 years ago, I knew from personal experience I was never going to be in a situation where I didn't have pet insurance. And when we adopted her, she was between 2 and 3. We paid, I think, $29 a month for unlimited 90% coverage with a $200 deductible, and we've kept that. And now that she's 8.5, I think we're up to $66 a month. It does increase as they get older because the likelihood that they'll need care increases. But when you think about, as you said, the average, I think I read a statistic somewhere that every 6 seconds in the United States, a pet owner is presented with a vet bill of more than $1,000. And if you think about, an average of $44 to $56 a month versus, a vet bill of $1,000, which it doesn't take much to get there. If you go in and they need to do blood work, imaging, you're at $1,000 right there. The cost of a visit in most cases now is around $100. So thinking from that perspective of, not making the decision about your pet's health, one of finances, but of medical necessity, takes the pressure off you and takes the pressure off the veterinarian and allows the focus to return to where it really needs to be, which is on the health of the animal.
Right, absolutely. And on the flip side, at the same time, insurance companies are able to, once we get comfortable with talking about insurance in the veterinary hospital field, insurance companies will be able to evolve to the needs of the consumers and the veterinarians as well, and any gaps that are seen, any stigmas attached to insurance right now that are attached to insurance can be worked on, and the foundation can be laid to kind of evolve the practices of the insurance companies if need be. Just as you were saying, we see pets as family members now, and we need to make sure that our insurance companies are kind of evolving towards seeing that it's a companion and not a property, sort of, and being covered that way.
Right. And that's an important distinction that you raised, Daisy. In addition to running the pet care and animal health practice at Maya Strategy Group, I also head our finance and insurance practice. So I work with P&C insurance companies on a regular basis. I think it's important for people to know that pet insurance is underwritten as property and casualty insurance, not as a form of health insurance. So when you're buying coverage, you're buying health coverage for your dog or cat. And I think some companies have expanded into small animal and for other animals as well. But we'll focus on dog and cat for the time being. But you're buying medical insurance coverage for your dog or cat as a form of property and casualty insurance. So the insurance company is viewing your dog or cat as property, and that's why it's underwritten that way. So it's important for people to realize, because I think a lot of the time when I'm talking to folks about pet insurance, it is either they're not aware that it exists, or they have either personally had a bad experience where they were not able to get coverage that they thought they were entitled to, or have heard stories of people having a bad experience with pet insurance. And so I think, one of the important things I want to get out there today is, when you are shopping for pet insurance, it's important, to keep a few things in mind. And I think, this is where a resource like Pet Insurance Review can be so helpful, is that you can go and, one, you need to realize that the best time you can buy pet insurance for your dog or cat is when they are a puppy, or when they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months old, they are 6 months old. And when they are 6 months o or immediately after you adopt them, assuming they have no documented medical history, because pre-existing conditions are not covered under any pet insurance policy. It's all underwritten as property and casualty insurance. And if there is a record of your pet having a medical issue prior to you getting the insurance, it will never be covered. You won't be able to get it anywhere. And that's a big part of how this industry is protecting itself against people waiting until their pet has a problem, going and getting pet insurance, and then hoping that it'll pay for it. So the good news is that when you do get it, either when your dog or is a puppy or your cat is a kitten, or immediately after you adopt them, there are no exclusions down the road. Anything that they didn't have, anything that they develop after you have pet insurance, as long as you maintain the policy, will be covered going forward. And I think it's also really important for people to look and understand the coverage that they're signing up for and what is actually covered by their policy, just like you would with an auto insurance policy or a homeowner's policy or a renter's policy. And I think that's one of the areas that Pet Insurance Review is really trying to help with, right, Daisy?
Absolutely. And I think that you're setting yourself up, your teams up for success and your client by having them be informed. An informed pet parent is not going to be accusing you of just being after money. If you've already had that conversation, as you said, as first time puppy exam, that's a great opportunity to just say, hey, this is a good time for you to look at pet insurance, pet wellness, or whatever the case is for that particular case. But just getting comfortable around finances in the future, in the long run, is definitely going to help with, again, compassion fatigue, being able to perform at your highest medical license ability, and also helping pet parents be prepared and not be sticker shocked with pet care that will definitely need to come down the line. I mean, I think it's 8 out of 10 pets will have an ER interaction at one point in their life, and so I think it's important to start having those conversations. And yes, Pet Insurance Review offers those free resources to any hospital. We will ship them directly to you. They do great into new pet packets and things like that. And we're unsponsored, unbiased. It's price comparison, side-by-side comparison for what each policy will cover and things like that. So it's a good resource to kind of take that pressure off of having those conversations and just providing that for your client.
Right. And then the pet parents can go on to the Pet Insurance Review website. They can compare plans, policies, look, understand what they may be able to afford, what they can get within their budget, how they want to tailor their coverage limit or their deductible or their reimbursement. These are all things that you can play around with when you're getting pet insurance. But I would say having some level of insurance is much better than deciding to forego it. And I've heard the the mantra out there, oh no, we'll just set aside, a savings account and earmark that for your pet's expenses. And that's great, but it's still, I don't think really gets to the heart of the matter, is that that's money that, yes, you've earmarked for your pet's medical expenses. But if you've saved up $10,000 for your pet's medical expenses and there's an issue, that's still $10,000 that you were hoping you didn't have to spend. And that still puts you in a position where you are making a financial decision around your pet's health. So whereas if you have insurance, the insurance is going to cover it, provided it's within the terms of your policy coverage. And I'm not a licensed insurance agent or broker. I consult in the industry a lot, so I feel comfortable talking about this in generalities, but I'm not giving specific advice or going to talk about specific plans here. What I would say is go to a site like Pet Insurance Review, go to the pet insurance companies' websites, and there's lots of them out there. Trupanion, Pets Best, Nationwide, some of the leaders in the industry. But lots, FIGO, there's tons out there. And you should be able to find a plan that you can tailor to say, okay, This is about what I want to spend per month. And then you can tailor your reimbursement, whether that's going to be 80%, 90%, 100%, the level of deductible you want to pay, and and the coverage limit. So some policies will be unlimited, some will cap you at a certain amount of reimbursement and coverage per year. But you may be wondering, why folks, Daisy, you mentioned being in the industry for 15 years. Why aren't more vets recommending this? And I'd be curious to hear your background, and then I'd love to share a little bit about what I heard when I was at Western Vet, because I think it's a very interesting paradigm that we've gotten ourselves into here.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, veterinarians don't like to talk about money. Their job is to assess, recommend, and treat. And so when they're already having to go in there and talk, about estimates and finances with clients, it's already an uncomfortable position. And so if you try and talk to your doctor team and say, hey, we're going to add on top of that, let's recommend insurance or clients to think about that. There's already kind of that stigma of like, I don't want anything to do with things like that. And on top of that is that it's one of our benefits. I think that's the main one, is that when you work in the veterinary industry, one of the benefits is that your pet will be treated. So the majority of us don't look into wellness plans, pet insurance, or anything like that, because we do have that as a benefit. And so we're not required to know about pet insurance, and then we don't really use it because it's a perk of our job. So from my experience, that's what I think, why we are not as educated as we should be.
I think that's a great point. I think we do, we ask a lot of our veterinarians, and we did some episodes, earlier on Petworking about veterinary burnout, compassion fatigue. And, in addition to, the issues of financial euthanasia and having to, forego a treatment that could save a pet because of somebody else's financial condition, I think a big thing that a lot of vets are faced with is that, they are asked to be the lead doctor in a practice. They're asked to, unless they're working for a corporate hospital, they're the head of the practice. They're overseeing the practice's finances. They're hiring a practice manager. They're hiring vet techs. They're interacting and educating patients. Not all of which is covered in veterinary school. That's not what they went to school for. They went to school to learn how to practice medicine on an animal. And so while you may have some exceptional vets that are, great faces of the practice and very entrepreneurial, not all doctors are great business people. And that we don't ask every surgeon to go out and market their services. We don't, we let the insurance companies handle that. And one of the things I think is really interesting is that, from the perspective of a veterinarian, a customer that has pet insurance is going to be a far better customer for me than somebody who doesn't, right? They're going to be more likely to bring their pet into the office regularly. So because you're bringing the pet into the office regularly, you're not going to have surprises that creep up because the pet hasn't been brought in for 8 years. And then all of a sudden it comes in and the vet hasn't seen it in who knows how long. And, there's a condition that has been developing for years that was underlying and undetectable. And now it's at a point that it can't be treated. So that's one reason to have pet insurance, is that you'll be more comfortable bringing your pet to the vet regularly. Two, from the perspective of the veterinarian, I can recommend just about whatever treatment I want, as long as it's medically necessary and it's going to be covered by the insurance. So I don't have to worry about catering my medical recommendations to the patient's financial situation. And I don't have to worry about them being able to pay for it. I guess the one caveat there is that most pet insurance companies are still operating on a reimbursement model. So patients will have to put up a credit card or something up front and then wait for the reimbursement. So that's a potential, area where I think the industry still needs to evolve. But it still gets back to the question of why, as a vet, aren't I recommending pet insurance more? Why aren't I making it more of a part of my practice? And you said, you mentioned, Daisy, I think they're very good reasons of, if I'm a vet tech or a vet, I'm I'm going to get my pet treated for free, so I don't need to worry about it. And they're not necessarily, wanting to become a insurance agent or broker on top of being a veterinarian or a vet tech or a practice manager. But from a legal perspective, interestingly enough, because vets, vet techs, practice managers are not licensed insurance agents or brokers, legally, they can't discuss pet insurance options with their clients. They can recommend pet insurance. They can recommend that their clients look into getting pet insurance, but they legally cannot discuss pricing or coverage with their clients. So I think that's a big barrier too. So, a service like Pet Insurance Review, I think, provides a great tool for vets to be able to say, hey, you can go here, you can look at your policy options, you can look at the coverages, and I recommend that you have pet insurance, but legally that's as far as they can go.
Right, right. And, the feedback that we've gotten from the hospitals that we've already onboarded to receive these resources has been phenomenal. I mean, we get weekly emails just saying, thank you for sending these. This really has helped a lot. And that's really what we're all about, is just trying to get the information out and give a resource out to the veterinary teams to help support them and make it a little bit easier to provide this type of information.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I look at it, if it were me, and, I'm probably giving away a great idea here, but if it were me and I owned a veterinary practice, I would look at it. I would get my practice manager or one of my vet techs, I would have them go and become a licensed insurance agent or broker. And I would sell insurance right out of my practice. I would make that a part of somebody's job. I would collect commissions on selling those policies and make it a really lucrative position for one of my vet techs or my practice manager. And it would probably increase the overall health of my practice. I don't know if that is being employed out there in any clinics right now, but to me, that is a huge untapped opportunity that veterinary clinics could look into.
Absolutely. Financial goals are met organically if you already have a pet parent who has insurance and doesn't have to worry about, financial constraints at a certain time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look at it, just from my own personal experience in having it, I've never hesitated if my dog Peony, she's prone to developing lumps. And, the first time I found it, I Googled it and I read, it could be cancer. And so we brought her in, we had it aspirated. They sent the sample off for cytology. It came back that it was benign. But there's been a few other instances where she has developed other lumps. And, almost 4 years ago now, I was petting her one night and I felt this lump and I looked at it and it felt different than the ones previously that I guess were just lipomas or something like that. But that one the cytology came back that it was suggestive of a melanoma. And if I didn't have insurance and wasn't, willing to go in and say, okay, I know I'm going to be paying my monthly fee. I know I'm going to be paying my deductible, but beyond that, I'm covered at 90%. I know, this is why I'm paying for insurance, so that I can make sure that my dog is healthy and taken care of. And, that melanoma would have been left untreated and God knows what would have happened. As it is, we're here 4 years later, she's 8.5. And I hope, I pray that she has a lot of years left ahead of her. And I don't plan on getting rid of the insurance anytime soon. So
yeah, I think 70% of pets who exhibit pain are taken to the vet to be examined, when they have pet insurance. Otherwise, it kind of gets overlooked and kind of ignored. So it does provide the ability to any concern that you may have. And I think pet insurances are also offering telehealth. So if you're having constraints of taking your pet physically into a brick and mortar setting, there's telehealth options. If you have a question, you can just right away have that ability to access it.
yeah, that's a huge benefit of the policy we have. Is it comes with a free access into a telehealth service. We have Pets Best for our pet insurance, and it provides free access to whisker docs. So, and that has been hugely, tremendously helpful on a number of occasions where you might be unsure as to whether you want to, you need to take your pet to the vet or not, but you can call in and talk to a vet tech or talk to a veterinarian and explain what's going on. And, it helps you make a better, VCPR doesn't allow them to diagnose and treat in many states, but at least you're getting that second opinion. At least, if it's after hours and you're debating, do I need to go and take them to an emergency hospital? You have that peace of mind and that expert advice to be able to say, okay, I think we can wait to go to the vet in the morning, or I need to go now. But it's all part of responsible pet ownership. If we're going to, again, as I said at the outset of the episode, if we're going to call pets family, we need to treat them like family. And that, treating them like family not only means feeding them well, walking with them, playing with them, loving them, but making sure that their medical care is provided for. And that starts with insurance.
Absolutely, Peter. Absolutely. And I think that having more veterinary teams informed and on board will organically just help with the compassion fatigue, organically meet financial goals for the practices, and just kind of take that pressure off. And you're doing right by your client, just as you recommend heartworm prevention and things like that at your first visit. Just having that quick conversation is, it's recommended to look into things like pet insurance and pet wellness for your pet, because you will need it down the line.
Yeah, and a lot of insurance plans offer, in addition to plans for medical coverage for accident, illness, they do offer wellness plans that allow you to pay generally on a discounted rate for services like vaccines and heartworm preventatives, flea and tick preventatives, other things that are going to keep your pet healthy.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important for folks to know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd be happy to send any resources. If any hospitals would like to have like a lunch or learn events with me to answer any questions on how the teams can provide these resources to the clients, I'd be happy to do that as well, because we have seen a benefit, especially this year with the veterinary outreach program that we've done, just how it's helping pets get the health insurance that they need, and the veterinary teams getting the resources they need as well to provide to clients.
Yeah, no, and if there are practices out there listening, if you haven't made pet insurance a key part of your practice, or if you're a pet owner that's been on the fence contemplating whether you should get pet insurance or not, get out there, get online, do your research. Even if your dog or cat is beyond the puppy kitten stage, if they don't have an extensive medical history, it is worth getting it just to save yourself from that position of having to make a financial decision about your pet's health down the line. And I think we talk about wellness plans. Hopefully in the future we'll get to a point where preventative care is more the standard in veterinary medicine, and that will come through a shift in the insurance paradigm, because right now we have wellness plans that you can pay for, but we are not providing an annual physical in the way that a human health insurance plan would. So it's really incumbent on you as the pet owner in this model to make sure that you're getting your pet into the vet frequently, so that they can keep on top of their health. And that starts with insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, Daisy, this has been a fantastic conversation. I'm so glad you've been able to join and give me the opportunity to talk about pet insurance here on Petworking. It's been an episode I've been looking to do since we launched the podcast. So I'm so happy we had a chance to connect. I have to ask, looking forward, a lot of the work I've done in the traditional P&C insurance space with auto, home, renters, a big trend there now is getting into alternative distribution and finding, other means, whether that's, bundling your insurance with a mortgage provider or going through aggregators. There's a company right near me here in Williston, Poly, that has an app where when you're at the car dealership, your salesperson can potentially help you find a better insurance option, and they can use that as part of their sales process. Do you see Pet Insurance Review getting into the distribution of insurance, or is the plan to remain a neutral third-party review service?
From my talking with Ray, he's very passionate about staying neutral. I think for him, his vision is to just provide the resources and allow the evolvement of pet insurance to grow on its own, with the consumer reviews backing that. So I personally don't see that happening, but I mean, who knows?
It would be fun to see. It would definitely be, anything we can do, I think, to help get more pets insured is just going to spell better outcomes for pets, pet owners, veterinarians. I think, down the line, and it's something that's very, very much needed. So, Daisy, I really appreciate your time. If folks have any questions, definitely reach out to Daisy on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Comment on the episode. We'd be happy to do follow-ups, answer more questions, and we may have some additional episodes on pet insurance and how you can access it for your pet, or looking at critical issues in the pet insurance market here on Petworking going forward. But for the time being, pet parents, get on. If you don't have pet insurance, get on Pet Insurance Review. Check out different policies. Help your pet get the care that they need. And for veterinarians and vet practices, reach out to Daisy and the Pet Insurance Review team. Provide this resource to your clients, and hopefully you'll have, it will improve your ability to practice medicine in the way that you want to. And ensure that your pets are able to get the care that they need and deserve.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Peter. This was wonderful. I'm glad we were able to speak some more on pet insurance. And yes, you can. Anybody can reach me at daisy@petinsurancereview.com. That's my email, or through LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer any questions or send you our free resources.
Awesome. Well, Daisy, thank you so much. And
Thanks,
this is Peter Kinseth with another episode of Petworking. We'll see you all again soon. Petworking is presented by Maya Strategy Group, a leading market research and strategy consulting firm, helping clients in the pet care and animal health industries navigate strategic challenges for almost 2 decades.